we found over 5,000 unmarked graves in our country. That speaks for itself, you know, and it's not being addressed. It's not being dealt with in the proper way.
It's episode 236 of the Cassius Morris Show. Thanks for tuning into this brand new edition of the podcast. Happy New Year, everybody. 2022. I don't know about you guys, man, but this year went for me. I've been thinking about it this year. 52 weeks is not that long. And I know that this is typical. Usually a person, as they sort of grow older in life and you know, the time it starts to go faster, but I'm really feeling it this year, man. It's been a crazy year. This marks the 1-year anniversary of my work over at Watch Mojo, which has become my daytime job, doing the podcast over there, working on the initiative I can talk about very, very soon that we've been working on throughout the year. And I gotta say, man, just really, really happy about this show, really happy about my run with the company. Looking back on this past year, it's been one that's been insanely productive, and it's also been one that's been really challenging. I know this has been a challenging year probably for most people who are watching this, myself included. Just give yourself a pat on the back, and I give you kudos, because it's very easy. I was using this metaphor with my buddy the other day on the phone. It's very easy to get sucked into a strange, bad place when there's crazy stuff going on in your life or in the world. It's kind of like when somebody jumps into the ocean next to a massive cruise ship. Just being next to the enormity of the ship, it's very easy to let yourself get sucked in, and eventually you could even get sucked into the engine just from the force of the water. It's going to suck you towards it. But if you really swim hard against the tide, you're not going to get sucked in. And that is how I choose to look at lately issues like what's been going on in the world and personal issues that are amplified by that. It's okay to think about it, give yourself some time, but just you got to swim away, man. I mean, just keep swimming. Let's break it down and keep it simple. We'll take it back to Nemo, take it back to Dory. Sometimes I guess it really is that simple. We have some awesome guests on the podcast today. We are joined by Young D and Young Trybez, the two halves that make the whole of Snotty Nose Rez Kids, which is an awesome hip-hop duo. We talk a lot about their music. At the time that this was recorded, I'm not going to say currently, they were on tour in the United States with USS. I think they were in Buffalo when I chatted with them this time. And really cool talking with them and getting some different perspectives. You know, I really did want to open the year with this podcast, this episode particularly, because I was really happy that I could use my platform to talk about some of the more serious issues that have been going on. Again, we keep it music oriented, we keep it, lighthearted for the most part, but there is a time and a place to talk about serious issues, in this case, Indigenous issues, given a lot of things that have gone on, especially in Canada. I definitely wanted to get their perspective as Canadians, as Indigenous people, and there's just a lot discussed in this podcast. I always like it when I can take it just a little bit farther than just talking about the surface level stuff, which is people's work. And, obviously you can get deep with that and you can keep going with that. But when we get into the personal issues and things that really hit us right here, that's when I think it really makes an impact and makes a difference. Before we jump into this, if you enjoy what you've been watching, if you enjoy this interview, please click that subscribe button if you're currently watching on YouTube. There's also the subscribe button or follow button on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio. Anywhere you can find audio podcasts, you can get the Cassius Morris Show. So make sure to follow and subscribe to every single page that I have. A lot of cool stuff coming up in 2022. We're going to have merch dropping in 2022. If you're watching the video, you can see the shirt. This is currently a one of one. There is one of these shirts in existence, and we're going to be dropping this very, very soon. So look out for that in the new year. We're going to have, I don't know, should I spoil it? We're going to have a lot of cool stuff in 2022, man. But we're going to get into this podcast with Snotty Nose Rez Kids. Enjoy. What's going on, guys? You guys are both over in Buffalo, as you mentioned?
Yeah.
Very cool.
We've been out here for a couple of days now. Just did our first show with USS last night. It was pretty fun.
That's cool. And this is you guys' second tour through the States. Is that correct?
Yeah. Well, it's just we just got a couple shows out here in Buffalo, and then the rest are back in Canada. But yeah, we just finished our western leg of our Life After tour, so that's pretty dope.
How do you guys find the reception to your music and sort of the touring experience as a whole in the US versus Canada? Are there any big differences?
Not really. I mean, it's it's pretty much the same. There's just a lot of people that come to see us haven't really, like yesterday, for example, like they never really seen us before. So
Yeah,
it kind of takes us back to the beginnings to where like we got to win the
yeah,
crowd over.
yeah. That's what I was
Mm.
gonna say.
Yeah,
That's what I
we
was gonna.
thrive on that. We thrive on that.
Yeah, yeah. Like last night, it kind of felt like it kind of felt like a bit like nostalgic, you know. Like it kind of felt like the earlier days, you know, like when you had to like you said, win crowds over. And I feel like the American tour just kind of like reminded me of like the Trapline tour because we were just getting our names out there and just kind of like letting people know who Snotty Nose Rez Kids was or
Mhm.
is. And that's kind of like how this like Life After tour is feeling right now.
Back when you guys first started at that tour that you're mentioning, were you guys independent? Were you guys working with like a label and managers? How did you guys get started?
Me and D kind of been doing this for a long time, so it's just like it was like a passion of ours, and we turned hobby into a career. And then we met our manager Brody in 20 when was it, the 2018.
2018.
Yeah. And yeah, and then we kind of just like took it from there and just kind of like kept working and working and working and just like putting what Snotty Nose is together. But we don't have a label or nothing like that. We just have like our manager and our agency, Feldman, out of Toronto. But yeah, we're not under a label yet.
Is that something that you would consider, or is that something that you're trying to retain independence as long as you can?
It's not something that we've really been like holding ourselves to. We kind of just been going with the flow and just doing what works for us, you know. And I mean, if a record label comes along and like looks like it'll work for us, then we'll do it. But yeah, we're just doing what works best for us right now.
Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. Because the thing that we've learned is that, you know, we're never going to change who we are. And
Yeah.
if we do sign a deal, we're going to do it in our terms.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, numbers talk. Like if someone can come through and like pull up and like just like pull our numbers up and like get our name out there, then that's what matters to us. You know, like just getting our music heard.
So when you guys first got started in BC, you guys must have been like contacting radio stations yourselves, contacting venues yourself before the manager.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
How
Yeah,
does that work?
I remember back when I released my first single. It was called Savages, and I released it through fuck, what was it called, dude? Sorry,
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. Yeah. I don't know. My mind just drew a blank, but yeah, I released it through SoundCloud, and I hit up all the local radio stations, CBC, like just like all those stations out in like Vancouver, and all the like the news outlets like APTN and all that shit. But like, it was funny, man. Like, cause like back then, we weren't even Snotty Nose Rez Kids, and no one gave a shit. You know, like even though my first single was like pretty like provoking and like it was like there's a lot to it, but no one cared because like no one cares until they see you put in that work. And now it's just like things just come for us, and like people like want to talk to us and like hear what we have to say. So like yeah, back then it was just me and D just pushing our music, setting up shows, and yeah, just doing it. You know, like it's kind of funny because we're touring with USS right now, but it's our first time ever opening for anyone. It's always just been
Okay.
us. You know, we've always been headlining our own shows. We've always just been like just doing it just for us, by us. No one's ever put us on, and no one gave us the time of day. It's just been me and D just working our asses off to get where we want to be. So it's kind of funny, like you said, like it feels like we're at like square one, doing like opening for people like USS on this tour, and it's dope. But like you know, like we pull up and it takes us half a set to win the crowd over. And that's new for us. So like last night was an experience.
Yeah, it must be
Yeah.
just a completely different thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say to add on to that too, like I remember the days where like we had to set up the sound system by ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like we had to go rent like monitors and like a sub, you know, and just set it up ourselves and just drive ourselves crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like almost full circle, but not really. It's
Yeah.
just like reminding ourselves like this is why we do this. Whether it takes a couple songs or a whole set, it's like love us or hate us, you will respect us by the end of it. And we still keep that mentality.
So that was sort of the mentality from the beginning, like sort of having to win people over. You were coming in there with something to prove from the jump.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
For
we still got that chip on our shoulder. You know, every project that we do, whether it's an EP, whether it's a full-length album, we have that chip on our shoulder. Like we have something to prove.
Yeah. And like even with our name, Snotty Nose Rez Kids, you know, like some people didn't vibe with it at first, but like you said, like by the end of at the end of the day, we're gonna like earn that respect, you know, and like just let people know like we're here for a reason. And like it's funny, like because you know, like native rappers, people don't really like respect you. Like it just even as a native person, you know, like it took us like a long time to figure out that like we're here for a reason and we're doing this for our people, you know. And I remember growing up, man, like people didn't even like care about rap music, or like if you listen to rap, you got made fun of, you know. It was like that genre that no one really like respected. And I think it had something to do with a little bit of racism and also just like that's what it was. But you know, like we've just been true to ourselves and like true to like who we are and what we do. So I think that really helped us a lot growing Snotty Nose Rez Kids.
No, that makes perfect sense. So, I mean, growing up, were there ever moments where you struggled to even get into hip hop or sort of foster that love for it? Because it sounds like there wasn't really much around that was sort of supporting that at the time.
Yeah, I mean, we've always had a love for it, you know, from a very young age. And I would say it was more difficult for people to take us seriously, like you
Yeah,
said before.
for sure.
Like the love was always there. The passion and the drive was always there.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing, you know, like when even when people pick you up in an Uber or you go into a record shop and they're like, "Oh, you guys a band?" They're like, "Yeah." They're like, "What do you do?" "We're rappers." You know, they don't really take you seriously. But it's like, no, we're successful. We do what we do, and people like listen to our music, and we do this for a living. You know, but like even today, people don't take rappers as serious as they would take other people in different bands and shit that play instruments. But yeah, like you know, like it's an art form, it's a craft, and yeah, we take it seriously.
No, 100%. So, I mean, with the group name, was there ever so much pushback in the beginning that you guys considered not using it? Or was it something that you guys said, no, we're going to go out and do it and sort of show everybody, so to speak?
Yeah, there was pushback. There was a lot of like push and pull, and you know, like we had to drop some people from our team and just stuff like that over the name. But me and Dan we were very like sure of what we were doing, and we always have been. And we can let people into our team that can like you know, like give us advice and like talk us off different subject matters and stuff like that. But we are very like we know what we're doing. So when we came up with the name Snotty Nose Rez Kids, we were like, okay, this is gonna be something that's gonna like that people are gonna either like fuck with or not. And we're just gonna have to be okay with that. And like we're okay with it, so you better be, or else go listen to someone else, you know? That was kind of like the mentality.
Man, no, that's really cool. You know, I was talking with the Hallucination, and they were saying that they sort of got into music just in general because they love it, and they found themselves, since they are First Nations, they said it almost forced them to sort of bring awareness to First Nations issues and sort of cover that content in their music. I'm curious, do you ever feel an element like that, or coming into it, was it always that that's what you wanted to do sort of from the get-go?
I mean, yeah, like it's been something we wanted to do from the get. from the jump. But like, I feel like as First Nations artists, we are held accountable and held to a certain standard that other artists aren't. You know, like we speak for a body of people, and we have to like respect their boundaries, and just like we're held accountable, you know, for everything that we do, no matter what it is, and we're okay with that. You know, like we knew what we were getting into when we got into this, and as like right now we're in a stage as like people as where like a revolution is starting. And when revolutions start, you know, like there are people that are gonna be held accountable to like their roles, and there are gonna be people that are gonna be like crabs in a bucket, you know, because people are comfortable with where they're at right now. But like as artists, we gotta like know what that's all about, and like for us, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's funny, like when we first started, it was all about like we made protest music, and you know, like it as of late, it's been we kind of like went a different direction with life after, and just talked about like shit that we were going through, shit that we were feeling, and I feel like we kind of like went back to like what the first album was, Snotty Nose Rez Kids, and we made that album to get shit off of our chests and let us heal. So like we made the music for ourselves, for the people. And I feel like as over the years, we started making our music for the people, you know? And on this last album, we kind of made this album for ourselves again as another healing tool. And I feel like as we progress and we keep making more albums, we're going to go into like music for the people, music for ourselves, music for the people, music for ourselves. Because like we use this music as a healing tool first and foremost, and then the rest is for the people. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that affect the writing process for you guys? Because it must have been quite a different approach.
It was and it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, like these last, especially like Trapline and the EP that we worked on, like we went into the studio and like we had a studio engineer, you know what I mean? And for this one, it was just us going back to basics where it's just the two of us.
Really?
You know?
So you guys mix it yourselves?
No, we didn't mix it ourselves. Like we still had a mixing engineer, but when it came down to like the recording process and the writing process, like it was just the two of us.
Man.
And that's exactly how we started. It was just the two of us, you know? So like it kind of brought us back to those days, and yeah, some of our best work came out because of it.
So it really is sticking with the theme of sort of going back full circle. I mean, with the tour, with the recording process, that's really interesting. And I mean, this record covering so many different themes, sort of themes about, you know, living through the pandemic, depression, loss. What's the biggest thing that you guys find changed your sort of artistic approach through this pandemic, or maybe what was the biggest thing you may have learned about yourselves artistically through the past 16 months?
It was, you know, like just finally addressing and dealing with all the stuff that we've been avoiding, basically. Because before the pandemic, you know, like we were on the go. 2020, we had like a 40 show tour or something like that set up. And then the pandemic hit. And, you know, 2020 was going to be a big year for us. That was going to be the year where we were going to take it to the next level. And then everything just came to a halt. And everything, like life just got put on pause, for lack of better words. And it's just, you know, when you're on tour and you do the tour life, it's easy to avoid certain things or that you don't want to deal with because, like I said, you're just on the go. It's on the go. It's easy to distract yourself. But with the pandemic hit, getting locked up in your house 24/7, and like a lot of things run through your mind, you know, and we were just forced to deal with those things that we've been avoiding for, you know, our mental health or spiritual health or emotional health. And it just got to the point, it's like, okay, like, shit, I got to deal with this. And the only way that, not the only way, but like the best healthy way for us to deal with it is like, I got to write about it. I got to talk about it. I got to write it down and express it some way. And you hear it in the album.
Addressing it in music.
Yeah.
You know, and like, yeah, and like for us, like when it comes to writing music, we write through our own context first and foremost, and we write through lived experiences. So when we're on tour, we're living and we feel alive, you know. And when that came to a halt, it put us like in a weird like state of mind. It put us, like Darren said, spiritually, mentally, and like right here. And I feel like it took us a long time to adjust to what we were going through, and actually to like be like, oh shit, like this is our new life. This is life now. You know, it's been 2 years since the pandemic started. And, you know, like I said, we write about lived experiences, and that was an experience and we had to write about it. So that's what life after is.
Did you ever think shows were going to come back, or was there a period of time where you were almost bracing yourself? Like, what if we never go back on the road?
No, it's not.
Yeah, like we always knew it would come back eventually, but it was just having to tough it out.
Yeah.
You know, and we got to a certain point during the pandemic, like it hit us creatively, you know, because
big time.
our inspiration comes from like traveling, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And experiencing the world, and we didn't get that. So the first, I don't know, like 3 to 6 months maybe, like we were hit creatively.
Yeah.
And then we just got to a point, and it's like, you know what, like we got to get back to work, regardless if the shows come back or not. We got to get back to work. And yeah, it's exactly what we did. Near the fall 2020, we started getting back into action, started linking up a couple times a week, and just to write, record, whatever. And then by the time the new year hit and the springtime hit, it's like, all right, let's get this.
So, back in full swing. I know that sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, we always knew it was gonna come back. It was just a matter of time and just surviving the drought, you know.
100%, just hanging in there. I know that you guys had a pretty big loss also at the end of 2020. Your tour DJ's brother, Darren, passed on. Sort of what elements of that did you try to work into the music, and sort of how did that affect you guys, maybe artistically and personally?
I mean, you know, we've been there before. We've seen it. We've been through it. We know how to deal with it, but it doesn't make it any easier, you know. And you know, like with all the effects that come with this pandemic, it like, I think that like what it did to our mental health was like bigger than anything, you know. And like we all went through it, and some people never made it, you know. Some people never made it out, but like we've been there. And yeah, like I said, it doesn't make it any easier, but like, I don't know. I feel like that put us in a different direction for the music, and just made us realize how important it was to talk about our mental health and talk about the shit that we've been going through over the last 2 years, and like just put it on wax, you know. Like that was, I think subconsciously, I think that kind of directed the album in a certain way, and it just made us like realize like, yo, we got to talk about this shit right now. Our community is going through it.
Yeah, and yeah, that was a dark winter, man. That was a very, very dark winter. Like, that shit was hard, man. And not just that, but like us and many others, you know, like we lost so many family throughout the pandemic. Some of it was because of COVID, and some of it was just for other health reasons, you know. And we felt like the community just needed something to like uplift them, including ourselves. You know what I mean? And again, that's exactly like what this album is you're hearing the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, the highest high to the lowest low, and everything in between.
Yeah, I mean, you know, not to be too heavy-handed, but you mentioned sort of the community and the things that people have been going through. Do you feel like some of the issues in the First Nations community have made the pandemic harder to deal with? Because I mean, there's a lot of heavy stuff in general that's been going on. And also, how has this whole thing sort of affected the way maybe that you guys view your country? Has it affected anything?
We always know, like, you know, like we know how it started. We know where it's going. We know we grew up in it, you know. There's been a lot of racism put towards us within our lives, and we always knew what it was, you know. I don't want to like say too much, but yeah, like we just found we found over 5,000 unmarked graves in our country. So let yeah, that speaks for itself, you know, and it's not being addressed. It's not being dealt with in the proper way. Like everyone wants to talk about reconciliation, but they don't want to talk about the hard truths that come with it. And that's part of it. So we'll let that speak for itself.
Yeah. And also, like, it's the way I look at it, like, pandemic or not, for us, it's never hard to talk about what's been there for fucking years, way before 100%. We did it. So it's in our DNA. Yeah. It's in our blood to talk about these things. It's in our blood to be a storyteller. You know, it's just all that. It just comes down to finding the right words and for us to find the right beat, and then it writes itself. To be honest. Yeah.
And as far as like our relationship that goes, or our relationship with the state, or like, you know, like our country or yours, or just the state in general, I think history like speaks for itself, you know, and it continues to do so, obviously.
Mm-hmm. If you're observing, you can put the picture together for yourself, kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%. That makes a lot of sense. And that's why I'm so glad that, you know, we can get on a platform like this and chat about it. Really loving the new record, guys. I'm just curious, moving forward, who are some people that maybe you guys would like to collaborate with, either in Canada or just in general?
That list goes on and on, my guy.
It must.
Like right now, like people that we think that are possibilities are like Travis Thompson, Rez Coast, Jesse Reyes, Princess Nokia, and then Earth Gang, if possible.
Nice.
You know, the Kelly 47.
That would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be insane. But like, yo, those are artists that we look up to and like want to work with. But you know, like the list goes on and on, to be honest. But like right now, people that we're looking at trying to get on the next album, or like just like collaborate with in general and one-offs, that's it.
I love that. D and Trybez, thank you guys so much for taking the time. And I encourage everybody to check out the record Life After. It's incredibly produced. The lyrics are great. And I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you having us.
Man.
I want to give a huge shout out to Young D and Young Trybez for joining me on the podcast today. Like I said off the top, man, really interesting conversation, a conversation that I think was important to have, and I'm going to keep using my platform to just keep switching it up and talking about all different angles of entertainment, the business, the world. We're just getting started, guys. 2022 is going to be a super, super cool year, and I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to be doing more live streams too. I know the music stream was a hit. I'm thinking of different ways to make it interesting. I know I told you guys when I first announced it that I would be having surprise guests, industry people who know what they're talking about to come on and react with me. I definitely know the sky's the limit with that stream, and it's not going to be just me sitting there. Trust me, I know it's not. It's always better when there's other people. I don't think I'm that entertaining that a 3-hour stream of just me is better than having it with other people. So definitely looking forward to doing some of that. And above all, wishing each and every one of you a very happy new year. I hope you guys had a good holiday. I hope that things are going all right. And, you know, I know it's tough right now going into this new year because a lot of people, you know, I guess I can speak for myself, but it seems like a lot of people don't feel like they know what's around the corner. And I think the people who are feeling like that are accurate. I'm certainly feeling like that. We don't know what's going to happen day by day right now. But again, like I mentioned in the intro, don't let it suck you in. I know the enormity of it. The force is going to pull you towards it. It is. But it's about swimming away from that tide, pulling yourself away from that negativity and trying to find some level of positivity. If that's one message I can give going into the new year, I'm definitely feeling good about that. Much love to you guys. Make sure to follow me on all social media and make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio. The podcast is going to be coming every single week. I'm feeling good. So I've taken enough of your time. Until next time, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Cassius Morris. We'll catch you next time.